Hi, and welcome to Echoes from the Basement, an X-Files podcast. Hi everyone, I'm your host Alice, and each week I revisit a classic episode of the X-Files while sharing my take on the strange and mysterious adventures of Agent Scully and Mulder. And who knows, I might even make a believer out of you. Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you guys had a fantastic long weekend and you guys just got to relax and chill out. That's basically what I did. I enjoyed some TV, hanging out with my friends time, and just enjoying a little bit of the rain. This is episode 4, Conduit. Our next stop is in Iowa. We see two young people laying out under the stars next to a camper. We see an older woman sleeping inside that camper or trailer when suddenly everything starts to shake. And there are a bunch of bright lights. And you can only know what that means. It means that it's aliens. Of course, because it's X-Files. And then it all just suddenly stops out of nowhere. And we hear someone screaming. So the woman inside the camper tries to grab the doorknob and it scorches her hand. You would think there is a fire right outside of that door. She had to use an oven mitt to open it. We find out that it was her son calling for her. His sister Ruby has just disappeared. So now we're back at the FBI headquarters where Scully is speaking with her boss about some upcoming expenses. They discuss how Mulder is asking to open a case based on a tabloid. It says, "Girl abducted by aliens," or "My daughter was abducted by aliens," something like that. So Scully's boss thinks that Mulder is just chasing after his sister, and that's why he wants to open this case. He wants it to be his sister. Mulder actually made an X-file for his sister. Her name is Samantha. Scully and her boss also talk about how Samantha is clouding Mulder's judgment and interfering with his cases. We also get a little bit more information about Mulder's sister. Scully says Mulder has told her about his sister. She's been gone for 21 years. Mulder was in the room when she disappeared and there were bright lights. Scully says, "Let me talk to Mulder and see what his judgment on these cases are." Scully then proceeds down to the basement where she talks to Mulder and asks, oh sorry, there's a motorcycle behind me. Ask Mulder about why are they going to open up this case? There's no evidence. It doesn't make any sense for them to be there. Mulder is very chill about it. He says, Scully, we're never going to agree on anything. Or maybe sometimes we're just going to agree on some things. Scully says, what makes this case so special compared to other articles in this tabloid magazine? For instance, Lizard Baby. Mulder says, well, the Lizard Baby wasn't born near Lake Okoboji, a known UFO hotspot. So, Mulder then proceeds to show pictures of UFO sightings on a projector that were taken at that very same lake. They're clear as day, and they were taken by a Girl Scout troop from 1967. The government says it was just a weather balloon, but we all know, as X-Files fans, that that is not correct, and that Mulder says there was no weather balloon scheduled for that day. We also see in the article it mentions Darlene Morris as one of the Girl Scouts who saw the UFO. Darlene Morris is also the woman featured in the other tabloid article. What a coincidence. So Scully and Mulder visit Darlene and her son, Kevin, who are both at that lake, Lake Okoboji, when Ruby went missing. They were camping there. They speak with Darlene, and while they're talking to her, Mulder just looks at these pictures of Ruby and Kevin on the mantle, and I feel like he longs it to be his sister. He really just misses her. You can see that in his eyes, he's so sad that Samantha has disappeared and never come home. So Darlene says Kevin has been acting strangely, and they just both want Ruby back. I would totally understand that. Your child is missing, you want her back, and you're not sure what happened to her. Scully asks, well, is it your ex-husband, Darlene? Could it have been him? Darlene says no. It happened just like before, referring to the Girl Scout incident. She turns to Mulder and says, it was them, wasn't it? Hinting at aliens. Mulder hesitates to answer. Darlene also tells Scully that every time she talks about her interactions with aliens, the Girl Scout situation, Ruby, everybody gets this strange look in their eyes. It's probably because they think Darlene is crazy. On the other hand, Mulder speaks with Kevin. Kevin is watching static on the TV. He's just having his poltergeist moment. He's writing down some ones and zeros on a sheet of paper, and Kevin says these ones and zeros are coming from the TV. So he's basically Carol Ann talking to the TV. Mulder asks if he can take a look at what Kevin is writing, and he faxes it over to the FBI for further analysis. Mulder and Scully also stop by the local police station to discuss Ruby. The officer says, yeah, Ruby was a bad kid, and this isn't her first time running away, and because she acts so bad, she deserves something bad to happen to her. She's asking for it. That's horrible, and I hope that is never said to anyone. Mulder says, so you just ignored Darlene on purpose? And the cop says, yeah, I did, because I just think she's full of it. So Scully and Mulder leave that awful moment behind them and find a note on their car. It says, I'm across the street, follow me. They see this woman and follow her into the library. They secretly talk to this mysterious woman in between a library bookshelf. The mystery woman wants to talk about Ruby. The woman says Ruby had no friends, that Greg is her boyfriend, Ruby's boyfriend, and that Ruby was pregnant and Greg was supposed to meet Ruby at the lake that night so they could run away together. Well, Scully asks, are you a friend of Ruby? And she said, Ruby doesn't have any friends. She just has people she hangs out with. Giving very Laura Palmer Twin Peaks vibe. We also find out that Greg, Ruby's boyfriend, works at the Pennsylvania pub, a biker bar, as a bartender. The mysterious lady also vanishes, and Scully and Mulder decide to go to that bar. They're looking for Greg. Mulder asks the bartender, I'm pretty sure it's the same guy from Bloodsport, the one that wears the Harley Davidson headband. He asks, well, where's Greg? The bartender replies and says, I haven't seen Greg for like 3 weeks. So if you find him, can you tell him he's fired? Mulder then notices the bartender has a UFO tattoo and decides to play 5D chess with him. Mulder says, what's on your arm? The bartender says, it's a flying saucer, duh. What does it look like? Mulder says, I don't believe any of that. I think it's all just like made up. The bartender then proceeds to show them his seared off ear and says he got it from when he went up to the lake at night. That is traumatizing. I would probably never sleep after that. So Scully and Mulder go back to their hotel. They're sleeping the night away when Scully notices that there's some shadows at her door. She gets up to answer it and to defend herself when these men burst into her room wearing suits and flashing lights in her eyes, almost blinding her. You know, of course, they're asking for Mulder because that's what always happens in X-Files. So Mulder and the men in suits talk about the sheet with the ones and zeros on it. The men in suits are asking, who gave you this? Mulder's asking, well, what is it? And then I'll tell you. The men in suits say it's a highly classified document. It's a satellite defense transmission. We need to know where you got it from. Scully tells the men in suits that it's from Kevin and Darlene, and they end up going to Kevin and Darlene's home to basically raid it. The men in suits are at Darlene's home, trashing it and looking for further evidence. Scully and Mulder go to the home and see everything has been taken away. They walk around the house a little bit more and see that Darlene's camper's roof is scorched. It's completely black. What could have happened to it? You know, aliens. Scully and Mulder find a ladder, and Mulder goes up it to the roof of the camper. He touches the soot to see what had happened. Also, why does Mulder feel the need to just touch everything? Now we're back at FBI HQ where Scully and Mulder are talking with another agent who has analyzed the sheet with the ones and zeros on it. Remember, Mulder had faxed it to the FBI headquarters. The agent says that only a fragment of these ones and zeros is a defense transmission, but the other fragments are pictures of DNA, music, and other Shakespearean sonnets. Mulder says it's like someone is changing channels or switching channels. I wonder who those people are. Scully and Mulder are leaving and they see Darlene and Kevin leaving as well. They try to apologize to them, but Darlene wants nothing to do with them. She just wants to be left alone, and she just wants her daughter back. I would also feel that way. She is scorned by Scully and Mulder, and it's kind of done at that point. Mulder loses a little bit of hope. You can see it in his eyes. He wants that chance to connect with Ruby and Kevin so he can also find out what happened to his sister. Scully and Mulder end up driving to the lake where the famous UFO sightings were. Mulder says that Kevin is the key to this case and he knows where Ruby is. He was there, he saw her, he knows what happened. And he's a conduit. Ding ding ding, the title. Someone is using him to speak to us. He witnessed Ruby's abduction and he's linked to everything. Kevin is the key to it all. He knows all. Scully says, "You're just chasing after your sister." That's it, Mulder. You're just looking for her. They go to the lake and investigate some more. They find no evidence of alien abduction, and Scully says someone could have just taken off with Ruby. They could have gone through the woods and just taken her. Mulder says, "Well, look at those trees up above. They're seared off. How could that have possibly happened? Only the tips of the trees are gone." Scully says, "Well, it could just be an electrical storm because what are the odds of that?" Mulder says, "I'll do you one better." He picks up sand that has solidified into glass and asks Scully to basically explain that. He's like, "I got you." The weirdest part, I think, of this whole episode is a wolf shows up and, I don't know, telepathically tells Mulder to follow him. I'm not too sure. I just thought it was really weird. Mulder follows this wolf that he just randomly saw into the woods. Scully and Mulder find a shallow grave there, and Mulder starts to unearth the person. He needs to know if it's Ruby. So, who is it? Who could this possibly be? You're probably thinking it's Ruby, of course. The local police come and pull a wallet from the body. It's Greg, Ruby's boyfriend. Mulder examines the wallet a little bit more and finds a note with the same handwriting as the note that was left on their car. The note reads, "Dr. Jack Fowler, August 7th, 2:30. The police get in touch with this doctor, and the doctor tells them who had that appointment. The police bring in Tess, the mystery lady from the library. Through Tess's investigation, or really interrogation, we find out she's the one who's pregnant. She had that appointment. Greg is the father, and he promised her that they were gonna run away to LA together. It was basically one big love triangle between Ruby, Greg, and Tess. Tess said she was not near that lake last night. Mulder says he's playing the bad cop. Yes, you were. You were jealous, and you waited for Greg and Ruby so you could kill them. You waited for them because you were jealous, so you sat there all night waiting for them. Tess says Ruby never showed. So Scully thinks that Ruby is probably dead and that Tess did it. Mulder thinks Tess is telling the truth. Well, what if Ruby never showed up? They always have to be at odds end of the spectrum. They are never really on the same page. Mulder wants to talk to Kevin because he thinks Kevin has all the answers to this, and I also believe that he does. Scully says, "Mulder, you're just chasing after your sister. This will not bring her back. You will not get the answers you want out of this case." Mulder says, "Well, I'm not giving up. I have to find Ruby," which I would want that too if I was going missing. Scully and Mulder go back to Darlene's house, and it is completely empty as if everyone has vanished. They see a whole bunch of documents with the 1 and 0s on it lined up. Scully and Mulder go up the stairs, and these documents make a perfect picture of Ruby's face. It just gives me Twin Peak vibes for sure. So Scully and Mulder, sorry, I'm also dealing with some allergies. Scully and Mulder drive to the lake at night. He also shares a little bit of lore about himself that makes me feel really sad as well. Mulder shares that every time he enters a room, he closes his eyes and then opens them again, hoping that his sister will reappear in front of him. That just makes me so sad. Just give the man his sister back. So Scully and Mulder see Darlene's trailer and they find Darlene in the woods. Mulder runs off to find Kevin, and he finds the little boy in a Silent Hill fog and a bright orange light in the background. That's what it reminded me of. The fog was so dense, it looked like it was from Silent Hill. The bright orange light ends up just being a bunch of bikers riding around in the woods. Mulder saves Kevin in the nick of time. Kevin says, "Ruby is here. I saw her. I know she's here. They're telling me she's here." Mulder says, "No, it's impossible. It can't be. She's not gonna come back," until Scully cries out for Mulder, and him and Kevin return back and see that Ruby has reappeared. She's weak, she's dehydrated, she's helpless. Where has she been this whole time? Also, how did she reappear? Did she just reappear in front of Scully and Darlene? We are never shown that. Scully and Mulder go visit Ruby in the hospital. Scully says everything is normal besides her white blood count. Mulder says, "Was there also a reduction in lymphatic population and the rise of," I'm gonna mess this up, glucocorticoids? Scully says, "Oh yeah, there were. I also see that in the lab work as well." Mulder says that's from prolonged weightlessness. Astronauts report that. Okay, I don't know how Scully will not believe that that girl has been abducted by aliens. That's just me, but I don't know. Mulder tries to get Ruby to say who did this to her and the details of what happened to her. Ruby says, "I can't tell you. They told me I can't tell anyone. I can't say anything." Mulder just keeps asking, who's telling you this? Darlene ends up walking in and says, "Can I have a chat with you, Scully?" Darlene says Ruby is not going to talk about this, she's not going to remember this, and neither am I. Darlene says, "Speaking the truth has only caused me trouble, and I don't want the same thing to happen to my daughter." Which I think really hurts Mulder, because he is always about speaking the truth and speaking it loud, and I think he's just sad that that has been dimmed in Darlene. Excuse me. The episodes end the Scully listening to Mulder's hypnotic regression therapy tapes, which seems like some sort of audiobook. The tapes contain Mulder speaking about when his sister disappeared, how helpless he felt, how he couldn't move, how Samantha was calling out for him, but he just couldn't help her. He said that the voice in his head said his sister would return one day. The therapist asks, "Do you believe the voice?" And Mulder says, "I want to believe." My thoughts on this episode shows how Mulder basically just longs for his sister's return and to find some sort of explanation on what happened to his sister. You can see the hurt in his eyes. He just wants some answers. He will never stop looking for the truth or looking for Samantha. We can also see that Scully and Mulder's relationship becomes a little bit stronger and that they trust each other a little bit more. But that's all for today. Thanks for listening, all you truth seekers, abductees, and X-File enthusiasts. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show. And remember, the truth is out there, you just have to find it.